Picture this. You walk out of your house in Lagos tomorrow morning and every third car on the streets has a name you never heard of. Chery, Haval, GAC. No, these aren't new tech companies. They are the Chinese car brands that just pulled off the most shocking automotive heist in African history. And they did this under everyone's noses. But here is the crazy part. In just the first quarter of 2025, Chinese car exports to Africa jumped 67%. Nigeria is leading the charge as their biggest target. Now, in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how China just checkmated Europe and Japan in a game they didn't even know they were losing, and why what's happening on Nigerian roads right now could change the entire African economy forever. But first, let me ask you something. When did you last see a brand new car on Nigerian roads that wasn't a Toyota, Honda, or maybe a Benz if someone was really flexing? Because here's what's happening right now as I speak to you. Walk through Victoria Island today and you will see something that would have been impossible just 3 years ago. Dozens of gleaming Chinese SUVs with price tags that make German cars look like luxury jokes. A fully loaded Chinese SUV with 360-degree cameras, panoramic sunroof, wireless charging, and smart features that will cost you 14 million naira in a BMW. The Chinese are selling it for 20 million. Same features, half the price. But there is something happening here that is even more shocking. Something that explains why traditional car manufacturers are literally panicking right now. And it all started with a decision that China made that completely blindsided Europe. Here's the chess move that nobody saw coming. In 2025, China just removed all tariffs from 53 African countries. Zero, nada, complete elimination of tariffs. Now, you might think, so what? That would help African exporters sell more to China. Wrong! That was just the setup. The real game goes much deeper. You see, when you give someone something valuable for free, it becomes very, very difficult for them to turn around and impose restrictions on you. Nigeria has been considering raising tariffs on Chinese car imports to protect local manufacturers like Innoson. But how do you justify that when China just opens its entire market to Nigerian goods for free? You see the trap? It's diplomatic genius, but that is just at the surface level. The real story is what Chinese car companies were doing while everyone was distracted by trade talks. While European and Japanese car makers were comfortable shipping expensive cars to Nigeria and calling it a day, the Chinese were playing a completely different game. Think about it like this. European companies were content selling you expensive fish. The Chinese, on the other hand, decided to teach you how to catch fish and then control the fishing nets. In Lagos right now, there is a GAC motor assembly plant that just assembled its 2000th vehicle, not imported, assembled in Nigeria by Nigerians. But here's what's fascinating. Why is assembling so important than importing? First, jobs. Thousands of direct and indirect jobs for Nigerians. Second, lower prices, no massive import duties. And third, adaptation. Cars built specifically for Nigerian road conditions. Fourth, speed. They can respond to market demands in months, not years. But the fifth reason, that's the game changer nobody is talking about. It creates loyalty. When Nigerians are building these cars, when their neighbors are getting jobs at these factories, when their communities are benefiting, whose side do you think they will take in future trade disputes? But you know what's even more shocking? How badly European and Japanese companies missed this. Let me tell you what Toyota, Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes got wrong. For decades, they looked at Nigeria and saw poor people who couldn't afford quality cars, so they never bothered to create affordable quality cars. Where was the concern for affordability when Nigerian families were priced out of car ownership for generations? But Chinese companies looked at the same market and saw something completely different. They saw millions of hardworking Nigerians who were tired of being told they had to choose between quality and affordability. Imagine you are a young Nigerian professional. You worked hard, saved money, and you want to buy your first car. Toyota tells you 25 million naira for a basic Corolla with manual windows. GAC says 13 million naira for an SUV with heated seats, touch screens, and premium features. To be honest, which one would you choose? Now multiply that choice by millions of Nigerian consumers, and you understand why Chinese cars sold over 200,000 units in their first major push into Nigeria. But here is where the story gets really interesting, because what's happening in Nigeria right now is just the opening move of a much bigger game. While traditional car makers are just now waking up to Chinese threats in regular cars, there is already a second wave that could make the first wave look like a gentle breeze: electric vehicles. Here is what's happening. This isn't just about cars. This is China positioning itself as a dominant player for Africa's next phase of development. Think about it. China controls 75% of global electric vehicle sales. They are building the factories, training the workers, and creating the infrastructure. In 20 years, when Africa's economy is powered by electric vehicles, where do you think the expertise, the parts, the technology will come from? But here's what fascinates me the most. Nigerian consumers are actually ahead of their government on this. While officials debate tariffs and protection policies, regular Nigerians are voting with their wallets. They are choosing value over brand prestige, function over fancy logos. And you know what? They are forcing global car makers to finally compete on what matters, giving people quality they can afford. Toyota just announced they are developing stripped-down models, especially for West African budgets. Suzuki slashed their prices. Mercedes is reconsidering their entire African strategy. Chinese competition isn't destroying the car market in Nigeria. It is forcing it to serve Nigerians better. But the real question isn't what this means for car companies. It's what it means for Nigeria's economic future. Here's your strategic lens takeaway. What we are witnessing in Nigeria's automotive sector is a masterclass of economic disruption. China didn't win by being better at the old game. They won by changing the rules of the game entirely. Zero-tariff policies that create diplomatic leverage, local assembly that builds community loyalty, affordable luxury that serves actual customer needs, electric vehicle infrastructure that controls the future. But here's what this means for you as a Nigerian. As an African, you have choices your parents never had. Quality cars at prices that won't bankrupt you. Technology that was once reserved for the wealthy. And most importantly, proof that when companies actually compete for your business, everybody wins.
Facts. That's a bold move for China. I told you, China have a different plan when it comes to their businesses with everybody, including Africans. You know what I mean? For them, they need you to be able to afford to buy their products. So they are going to help you to help yourself, to create middle class citizen, upper class, rich class people, so you can buy whatever you want, especially buy from them. So that's incredible move. Free market access for Africans to China's market. That's amazing. Now China can enter as well your market and give you what do you want. You know what I mean? By being the leader when it comes to parts to build your cars in your own country, they are going to be the suppliers for the entire world. And they know that Africans want to live like other peoples, like Chinese, like Europeans, like Americans, meaning that having access to what's popping in those countries. You know what I mean? So now the question is, we don't need more cars in Africa. For example, Nigeria. They are, by 2050, there are going to be a billion people there. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily need a lot of cars. You need public transportations. Trains, buses, connecting the country, connecting the continent. This is what Africa need. This is what the continent need. This is what each country need. You know what I mean? Because, okay, we are buying cars, electric cars, okay. There's a lot of cars in the country. You don't need that. Okay? We need public transportations that works. And yeah, people can afford to buy cars. Perfect, good. But nevertheless, China is thinking different. No, really thinking differently from Europeans, Americans, and Japanese, stuff like that. Because there's no reason why you should ship luxurious, expensive cars to a country when you know that the majority of people cannot afford to buy. And the thing with China is always for the people. They don't care to buy small things to small group of people. They want to buy the more things to the large population. So, okay, do you guys need cars? Okay, we are going to do what do you want? We're going to sell you parts. You're going to build your own cars in your own country. Creating jobs for your own population. And that's a win-win situation. And with China, okay, we are going to be the leader of the suppliers in the entire world. That's amazing. That's insanely amazing. And yeah, European, American, Japanese, they just missed the wave. You know what I mean? They missed it. But hey, I love that.
Automotive revolution happening right now on Nigerian roads is just the beginning. This same playbook, affordable quality, local partnerships, future-focused technology is coming to every industry. The real question is, will other global companies learn from this Chinese masterclass? Or will they keep underestimating African consumers until it's too late? I want to hear from you. Have you or someone you know bought a Chinese car from Nigeria? What was that experience like? Are you considering electric vehicles? And most importantly, do you think this competition is good for Nigerian consumers? Or are you worried about the impact on local industries? Let's have a real conversation about what this automotive revolution means for Nigeria's economic future. Because when the world's second largest economy decides to compete for African hearts and wallet, the game changes for everyone. This has been another episode of The Strategic Lens. My name is Azawad Idris. Keep thinking strategically, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Shout out to Africa Today. Shout out to my boy. He explained very well what's going on in Africa, not only in Nigeria. China is changing Africa. Not Europeans, not Americans, China. Because China has another vision for the world that it wants to lead. Don't forget that. China wants to lead the world. So, but the world that China is envisioning is that the world where everybody can afford to do and buy and live the way they want. You know what I mean? So that's important. And Africans need to jump. Okay? Need to jump in and and start to do business, the real businesses. And it's not only about the government. You know what I mean? If you are particular people, you can do the same thing. You can create a company and start shipping parts, creating jobs for your local people. Because the future is the green energy. Electric cars, solar cars, solar buses, solar train. We have sun all day, night in Africa. That's easy. And it's cheap. It's solar. It's cheap and it's free. You need to capitalize that resource, that energy. You see what I mean? So, if you are African in Africa, if you are a diaspora member, and if you are wherever you are, I mean, it's not only for Africans, Africa is for everybody. I mean, I guess there's a lot of Chinese people in Africa, there's a lot of European people in Africa, there's a lot of American, South American, Turkish, Indian people in Africa creating businesses, doing businesses. But the one that I'm not seeing as much as others are the diaspora. What are you doing, diaspora? What are you doing? You have a leverage. Most of us live in rich countries. A dollar or euro, Europe. Our dollars or euro are more than those in African, So we can, save a little bit of money here and go back in Africa, start a business. And like I say, you don't need to stay there. You just need to go there, buy a business, and go and do a back and forth between Africa, Europe, like me, Africa, America, Africa, South America, Africa, China, Africa, India, Africa, Turkish. There's a lot of African in China. They create a city called Little Africa. They go there, they do business, and they ship that to Africa. This is the time. Don't miss the wave. This is the freaking time right now. We need to do that. This is the time. Otherwise, by the time we wake up, it's over. You're going to see a bunch of foreigners in Africa living good life, living the soft life, owning stuff there. And that's sad. That's like I say, the previous videos. I was in Zanzibar, Eastern Africa, Tanzania. I saw a bunch of Europeans, Chinese, Turkish people, creating businesses, living the soft life, sun every day. And I was like, man, where are the diaspora? And I just did a reaction about Burkina Faso, what's going on there. Go see it. It's very, very amazing investigation. And they are doing the same thing in Burkina Faso. There's a guy doing electric parts, shipping electric parts from China and creating cars in Burkina Faso, employing local people. Everybody started doing that. So I think my next vacation on the continent, on the motherland, next year is probably going to be Burkina Faso. I want to see that by myself, you know what I mean? And I want to grow the channel so I can also, start doing investigation documentary for you guys to showcase what's going on in Africa. So, but you need to subscribe to the channel. You need to like, you need to comment. You need to give me that energy. Now to be sure that the channel is going up so I can start doing documentary investigation on the motherland. So I can bring you the news about what's going on in Africa. My channel is called African Minute for a reason. You know what I mean? So I want to showcase, I want to share with you what's going on there, what's happening, what China is doing there, what kind of businesses people are doing there. Yeah, so go watch the next video. I think it's gonna pop up here, just here. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe, guys. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, watch the full video. It also allows, so it show me love. And yeah, till next time, take care of you and the family. Peace out.